All right, everybody. We're getting ready to start the presentations. Mannimal Research is up first, and I'm going to turn it over to Wayne and Derek. You two guys have fun with it. Answer all the questions you can. So hopefully by the time you get to me, I don't have to answer them more.
That's good.
All right, on the off chance that people here don't know who we are, my name is Wayne. I am the founder and the CEO of Mannimal Research. I got my good buddy here.
Yeah, as you know, I go by Jasper on the TV, on the YouTube channel, and I go pretty much Jasper on the radio because it's my CB handle. Pretty much known I'm the VP of Mannimal. I had to kill some people to get there, but it happened. Pretty much, I guess when it first started, it was basically Wayne. It started with him, and then one other person we had at the time. He actually brought the question up to me and asked me, he goes, "You believe in Bigfoot?" I hesitated for a minute because I was like, this dude's joking or playing around or something. And he didn't know nothing about my account or nothing. And I said, well, yeah. Why wouldn't I? Hey, you want to start up a group? Yeah, I guess. Be fun. Do it. And really didn't think, at first it was like, this ain't going to take off. But then once we got into it and the shows started kicking on and everything else, and then we started digging in and going camping, it was like it's blown up to what it is now, and which we're still growing, and it's pretty cool. That's kind of how me and him, we knew each other from work, so we were both correctional officers, and I actually knocked him out of work for hurting his arm for training. So, but that's Mannimal. We don't discriminate against nothing. If whatever story you got, and we've actually grown into other crypts. We wanted to stick straight to Bigfoot, which we still do, but we've opened the door to other things, and because we've experienced it, and that's we might as well open the door to it because it's happened to us. Which here we had all that happen. Some here, and my encounter, his stuff that he's had. Different things that just might as well open the door. So you need to talk.
I just thought you were going to introduce yourself.
Well, I did.
But before we really get into anything, I wanted to take the opportunity to thank everybody for showing up. I said on one of our episodes that I would consider it a success if we had 50 people, and we're on the doorstep. With everyone that has been here yesterday and today, we're over 40 people here, and that's not that bad for a first-time event. And last time I checked, what's that?
Short notice.
Yeah, it was very short notice. We threw this together in just a couple of months, and last I checked, I think there's 11 states that are represented here today. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
The furthest one being Colorado. Guy actually had to catch a plane and fly in, and Joe drove in from Texas. We got Louisiana, Ohio, several different 11 states that are represented, and that says a lot. Speaks a lot to this community. It really does. That people are passionate about this subject and want to get out and learn, and we want to thank everybody for taking the time. There's a million different ways you could have spent your holiday weekend, but you chose to come down here and spend it with us, and we're grateful. We're grateful for that. But Walt spoke a little bit about the beginning of Mannimal, and how it actually got started was a couple years ago. I was working, and I had about an hour commute from my home to work, and my vehicle went down. My Jeep went down, and I had to borrow a truck from my dad. As soon as I borrowed it, the radio went out. Oh, what am I going to do for an hour drive there and back, 2-hour commute each day with no radio? So I discovered podcasts. So it's the first time, I knew they'd been around forever, but it's the first time I'd ever tried them. And I found the certain podcast that dealt with cryptids and paranormal and the unexplained. And I found myself wanting to fast forward or to skip through all the other stuff just to get to the Bigfoot stuff. I've been a lifelong believer in Bigfoot and pretty much all things cryptid, but Bigfoot has been it for me, and that's where my fascination really started. And then I reached out and I found another podcast that dealt strictly with Bigfoot. We all know Sasquatch Chronicles. That's what got me really interested in this subject. So started listening to researchers and people that are out just like us that are out doing this, and I found out the part of the country that I live in, which is here, the southeast, is a hotbed for these things. I mean, the terrain, the climate, everything is perfect for them. So with the help of my wife, with the encouragement of my wife, she finally told me one day, I know that you're thinking about doing this, and we live in a great part of the country. It's not going to be too terribly expensive to get started, so there's no reason not to. So with her blessing and her encouragement, Mannimal was formed. And like Wall spoke a little bit, I reached out to him. We had been friends for about a year or so, working together as correctional officers. And I just sent him a message out of the blue. I hadn't talked to him in a few weeks. And I just said, hey, do you believe in Bigfoot? Or I said, hey, is Bigfoot real? That's what I said. And he said, what? Yeah, he's real. And I told him, yeah, what I was talking about doing. And he's been on board ever since. And really has been cool. It's given me an opportunity to get to know him better and see what a good guy he is, and happy that he's come along with me and been able to take that next step. Like you said, we are growing, continuing to grow, and yeah, one thing that I really believe is that's unique about this community. I don't think that there's a such thing as a Bigfoot expert. I really don't. How can there be? There are people that are knowledgeable on the subject, certainly, but how can we have an expert of a creature that isn't recognized by science? Everyone here is a believer. You know, and most of us are knowers. A lot of us are knowers. We know that they're out there, but we're not experts. And each and every one of us can get out and do something to add to the collective pot, to start putting puzzle pieces together to complete this puzzle. And it takes people like us, because mainstream science isn't getting out there and doing it. It's people like us, researchers, and I say researchers because researchers that's a title that we choose to give ourselves. I didn't go to school for this. I don't have a PhD in Sasquatch studies. I don't know of anyone that does. So I choose to call myself this because I'm going out and I'm trying to gather evidence and speaking with like-minded people that are also out doing the same thing. So I really wanted to get that out there, and from this point on we'll talk about some of the stuff that we have encountered out in the field. And I've been talking for a few minutes, so I'll hand it to my buddy here and let him tell us about his experience. What happened to you, buddy?
I had to be an interview. Come on, man. Well, when I finally, which y'all heard part of it last night, when I first, mine was the basis of the first encounter. The true encounter was with the Bigfoot. I believe 100% it had to be one sitting on my tent, and which y'all all know, you gotta touch the butt. So. And I told him about it, and he's like, "Are you for real?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm not telling you, I'm not blowing smoke up you." Saying, "Yeah, that's what happened, and you're the first one really to ever know about it, or be told about it, except for my ex-wife." And we've done that and went through the story and then on the YouTube channel with it, and it, everybody's like, "Okay, cool." It's with anybody. With any stories that you get from anybody, a lot of them are going to be hesitant to come forward, and I know that because I felt the same way to come to him after, even though I was, partners with him, I was still like, man, he's going to think I'm a joke, like I'm telling a lie, big lie. I know for a fact what I touched. I know what was there. I went through every process, plus trying to protect my kids.
Well, for those of us that had, those of them that haven't heard it, to tell the story.
Okay.
Yeah, from start to beginning.
Well, the time when me and my boys always, when I drove a truck, I'd come home, I'd say, hey boys, what y'all want to do? I always spent time with my boys. You know, I said, what do y'all want to do? Let's go camping. Okay, we'll go camping, we'll go catfishing all night long. We found this little spot where we didn't have to basically, you know, pay for a spot for a tent. So we found this cool spot that was, I mean, it was in a nice little slough area. And I'm like, okay, this should be a good hit. It's good, shaded, perfect. You could have sun hot and it stayed shaded. So I had the big blue Bronco, and we parked, and we were the only one there. We did have another site that's right next to the road. A camper was there. It was actually, to be honest, I think it was actually a homeless person that slept in a camper and stayed in a camper. And he was there, and he was cool. We fished, we did our stuff. When it was time to come getting tired and sleepy, we went to bed. You know, I was actually laying like I am right here. My youngest one was here, my oldest one was here. I was laying on my back, because that's usually how I did when I was camping in the tent. You know, I was laying on my back and flipped on my stomach. My oldest one wakes up, and his dad, you know, I need to go use the bathroom. So, okay, well, just open the door, go out there to the tree, and use the bathroom. No, I gotta do number two. I was like, okay. I was like, okay. And then I'm turned over to my stomach, trying to find my phone, trying to find the flashlight. And the next thing I know is barely just something. I mean, it wasn't like a plump down. It was real soft. Just laid down. I was like, what is that? And he goes, what is that, Dad? I said, I don't know. Something's laying outside. He said, I'm not going out there now. I was like, it's okay. If it wanted to attack us, it would already attack to the tent and tore it up. So he sat there for a minute, and that's when I started. I was like, okay, I got to figure this thing out. I've got a massive, and I could tell it was the size. Probably, I would say if I had to measure, it's the size of this grill. That width, and you know, you're sitting there going. I said, I got a massive. Either I got a predator sitting out here laying on my tent. I've got something out here on my tent, and then I got my two boys. What am I gonna do? And all I had was my knife. I didn't have no guns at that time. You know, I had my knife. Fish is outside. There's food out there. It's like, okay, maybe they'll leave this alone. And just basically, I guess in my mind, I guess you'd say on the stupid side, and basically reaching up there, trying to feel what it could be. Feeling the fur, you couldn't really feel the actual texture of the fur, but you could feel something as fur through the tent. But it was rough, kind of muddy, matted almost. You could feel it, and you could hear it rushing when you was rubbing. You could hear it rubbing up against the tent. I was like, okay, it's got to be a pig. No, it ain't that. That's further down. It should be back over there. There's no tracks here. There's no trails. And I'm like, okay, it's either got to be a bear, but no, a bear should be attacking me if I'm touching him, and he knows something's behind him. And went through different things, and then finally I started putting my hands up there, and I would push, and feel it rock, sit back down. It's like, okay, what in the world? So then I said, son, give me my knife. I reached it here, put it in my right, and it started barely poking. And I had three holes in my tent, just barely poking. This thing does not move, like it doesn't feel nothing. And I'm like, okay. So I lay there, and I said, you standing in his bathroom? He said, nope, not now. I was like, okay. I said, did you use it?
Scared it out of it.
Probably. I didn't ask him that, but he didn't. He got home and used the bathroom, but left the next morning. But he passed out. I went back to sleep. I said, don't worry about it. I'll stay awake. And I sat there, and I fought it, and I tried to stay awake, and this thing stayed right here. I said, that way I knew where this thing was at. If it moved, I knew I'd be at the front door. I'm ready for it. Next thing I knew, I'm waking up the next morning. Thing's gone. Chris was outside sitting in his chair just fishing away. Son wakes up and said, Dad, what was that last night? I said, I don't know. I said, maybe it had to be something. I didn't really come out and tell him. I said, you know, maybe it was a Bigfoot. You know, I don't know. You know, it's just an animal. So in my mind, I'm going, I either had a Sasquatch, something visit us last night that didn't try to hurt us. And I felt that when I was going to sleep, I felt calmness. I didn't feel no like I was protecting my kids no more. I was like, okay, I felt a calm, like something was pushing over going, it's okay, dude. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here watching over you. I'm just resting or something. Passed out, boom, it was gone the next morning. There was, when we went around, we went to go see if we seen some tracks. I said, let's see if we got some deer tracks. That's what I told them. I said it was deer. And to today, they still kind of like, it's a deer. They'll laugh at me and everything. I'm like, okay, you need to go on camping with me. Go see our thermal stuff, what we've got. We went back there, and there was a print, a rounded, smoothed out print that looked like a butt. That something was just sitting there, just chilling. And I was like, I didn't get a picture, like, anything like he's happened, that didn't think about getting a picture. Like, oh my God, and I was like, that's cool, just shrug it off. Let's go back fishing. We left, and it took a while for, I don't even think we ever went, we didn't go, that was the last time we ever went back to stay there. The rest of the time we stayed in the park paying $10 for a tent just to stay in the park, and I was like, I want to go back, which 1, 2, 3, after they got about 7 or 8 years old, I went coon hunting for the first time. And my buddy up on the mountain, he had some coons. I said, hey, I know a spot, let's go try it. Because I knew coons would pick up on this if something big was out there. Got down there, the dogs took off out there. They went around the ridge, and we ran into some brush that we just couldn't get through. The dogs were already there. We GPS, the GPS showed them almost 10 miles, almost about 5 to 6 miles down in the brush. And we're like, dude, I said, how are we gonna get these dogs back? He said, they'll come back. And he hollered and whistled and everything, and sure enough, they come back. But they were tracking something. Coon? I don't know, because there's no coon tracks around there. And I said, let's try that. I wanted to try it and see what could stir up. And that was really the last time. That was during the winter time. And that was the last time we ever stayed there. The other time was I did the live for the show. I showed the video. I think he uploaded it to the YouTube where I went over there and actually done a video to show, hey, this is my spot. This is where it all began. And it's all been cleaned out. Brush has been pushed. I want to go back. I want to walk around, because you can actually walk around the other side of where the lake hits. You can actually walk up there. I'd like to go back, but in back of my mind, it's also telling me.
Yeah, that's on our plans. That's going to be one of the areas that we'd like to get back. And I'm glad that Walls here brought up the fact that he didn't get a picture, because as I'm sure with everyone here, at some point in your life, you've thought, if somebody's seeing something like this, they're going to take a picture. We all have a phone in our pocket. And I thought the same thing. If these things are out there by now, with all the technology we have, we would have seen one. Somebody would have a good picture of one. But I can attest to the reason why, one of the reasons why that's just not happening. It was an expedition, it was a Mannimal expedition. Walls couldn't go on it. It was 2 of our other members, and our members one of his grandsons that was with us. So there was 4 of us down in Bartow County, Georgia. And I'd had just this off feeling all night. Something wasn't right. I had already been on a half dozen or so expeditions and never felt like this. I just had that gut feeling that something wasn't right. I had my 45 on my hip the whole time. That's not uncommon. Y'all probably seen it on my hip here. But when I'm out doing this, I keep a gun on me. But I just had this uneasy feeling the whole time. And nightfall comes, and what we used to do was, and we don't do it anymore, we used to go on what we called night hikes. We would get out with our camcorders, our thermal imaging, or night vision, and we would walk around. In my opinion, that's pointless. We don't do that anymore. But we used to do it then. So we were getting ready for our night hike, and I didn't want to go. And I had gone on all of the others, never had a problem, and there was just something I didn't want to go. And I could tell the 13-year-old boy wasn't crazy about going either. So I said, well, I'll hang back here with him, and you two go have at it, go on your hike. We have radios, we'll stay in communication. So that's what they did. They left out, and they weren't gone 10 minutes before it let loose. Whatever it was, let loose. It was a combination of a bark slash laugh. Just the most demonic, evil sounding laugh you had ever heard, but it started as a bark. And since this happened, I've found a couple of videos on YouTube that play the exact same thing that I heard. It's exactly what I heard. And they were on Sasquatch videos. People say that was a typical sound, is what I've heard. I didn't see it making the sound, so I don't know. But all I can tell you is I'd never heard it before. I had never been more scared in my life. Instead of reaching for my phone to record it, and this thing let out about, within a 2-minute span, probably a dozen of these bark slash laugh things. And in that time, I had my gun in my hand, not my phone. I had thermal there. I had audio recording equipment. I didn't reach for any of that stuff because it never entered my mind. And that's what I'm here for. You know, I'd been doing this for 6 months, and I had bought all this equipment, been on all these expeditions, and been ready to capture something. And when the crap hits the fan, I fold. You know, why? What is it about us that does that? I mean, there's the fight or flight instinct, and I've always thought to myself, if it came down to it, I would fight. But at that time, no, I was I was scared. I was not going out there. I had my gun in my hand, and I got on the radio and I said, "Do y'all hear that?" He said, "Yes, we heard that." And I said, "Y'all need to get back here." Like I said, they weren't gone 10 minutes, and they came back. They had never heard a sound like that. It wasn't coyotes. It wasn't dogs. I don't know. I don't know what it was. If you guys are familiar with Thinker Thunker, and most of us are, he has a video of a Native American fella on a reservation, and he's holding the phone up to his face, and he's talking about this cackling. The cackling, that's what they called it. Bigfoot cackling or something like that. Mm-hmm. But that laugh that you hear in the background, that's what we were hearing from not very far away. So it's very, very understandable to me, at least, why there aren't as many good pictures. Because people are scared. I mean, your first instinct is to protect yourself, not to get evidence.
Yep. And the crazy thing is, with the area that he was in, when he called and told me this, I started researching, looking in the area up, which at the time, as some of you know, how far? Up, go up. I can't fly nothing. When I took off to do the research and I was like, okay, I went through hyenas, everything. I'm like, okay, is it this? Do you think it's this? And he basically was like, no, I mean none of that. Okay, well, as some of you know, I'm an independent wrestler on the side, and one of the guys up in Pikeville actually lives in Georgia and is part of a Bigfoot group, or was part of it. And I told him the area. I didn't tell him the side. I said, it's in Bartow, Kenton. He said, you're in Dogman area. And this is where I first started hearing about Dogman. And I was like, okay, Wayne might have had an encounter with a Dogman possible. Because he said they're all over the place. And then I went and looked up this Dogman thing and looked into Bigfoot sites. I mean, it's I-75. There's hits everywhere of both. And I'm like, okay, why is this area so keen? Which there is a lake there, so there's water source. And the area that little spot, we actually camped next to a cemetery, which is known that Bigfoot supposed to hang around cemeteries. And that's not the only one we had. We had Blue Ridge, where the military decided to flex their muscles. We had that one, which is a small cemetery. And this one that he's talking about is actually still active. And they have I think the oldest one is the one that's a stone grave, ain't it?
It's back in the 1700s.
Yeah, to see it, it's cool because it's a massive stone grave. But the first time we ever went there was in the winter, and we had things across from the water, something going through the woods. And then we was actually chilling around the fire, and I remember, and I know I freaked him out because I'm sitting here and I'm wrapped up and it's cold.
It's 10 degrees.
Yeah, it was cold.
Bitterly cold.
I'm wrapped up just sitting here next to the fire. We're just chilling, talking, thinking, you know, what we're going to do tomorrow. And I legitly hear from this side, and that's across I hear, hey. I looked it down, I said, y'all just say something? Which, even though I heard it coming this way. No, I said, dude, I just heard a hey coming from this field over here. And that's where also, I believe that night, or that day, y'all found a casting, didn't you?
That might have been a different time.
Could have been a different spot.
Yeah.
I think me and him, when we went on our first expedition, I think it was just me and you up in the mountains, Pigeon Mountain, which was kind of crazy. That was actually a kind of crazy lead. I actually met up with an old person and his wife to buy a kerosene heater from my rental house. And I told him, I gave him my card. I said, this is where we're actually doing it. I'm gonna put a tent to keep us warm, because it was in the mountains. It was the coldest time we've ever been. And the guy legit didn't hesitate. He said, well, you ever been up the Lafayette Mountain?
He called it Lafayette Mountain.
And I was like, I didn't know Lafayette had a mountain. I said, I know I go over a mountain, but I didn't know it was Lafayette Mountain. He said, back in my day, it was Lafayette Mountain. I was like, okay. He said, I coon hunting up there a long time ago. Okay. He came up and he said, I got chased out by something. And when he says chased out, I said, what do you mean by chased out? He said, well, let's just put it this way. I seen trees going on my side, running down a trail with my dogs, trees, rocks, and growling before we ever got out of the spot. Okay. So I said, Wayne, let's go.
Yeah, it wasn't the next week, I think
it was just me and him. This was probably when Mannimal got on the map in a way, I would say. This one was the big one. We got up there, we found this great spot next to the lake, which now the government has it closed up there for some odd reason. We found this spot, and it was perfect. The tent, that's where you see this on the website. You see my tent, that's the spot. And we're chilling, and we're going to bed. We go out and do our little thing. You know, we come back, and then we have nothing. Well, that night we left the recorder on the table.
Yeah, well, let's back up just a little bit. That night, something happened. There was a missing hiker, or it was the last day of deer season.
Yeah, that's right.
And there was a hunt that weekend, and we didn't know about it, so we were disappointed when we got there. Like, there's going to be hunters everywhere. We're not going to get anything, but we already had all of our stuff up, and we already had all of our stuff packed and everything, and decided, you know, there's no way that we can turn back. There.
That's a long drive.
Yeah, and we decided that we weren't there's no way we're gonna turn back, so we'll at least camp, no matter what happens. So I stopped in and I talked to the ranger, the guy that, he's kind of over the mountain there, the recreation, and I asked him, are we allowed to tent camp up here? I know there's a hunt going on. He said, yeah, just pick a spot, it's fine. And so yeah, he's a real nice guy, super friendly. He's a younger guy in his mid-20s probably. And we get to talk to him for about 20 minutes, and I finally get comfortable enough that he's not gonna call me crazy and laugh at me. So I asked him, do you know anything about any Bigfoot sightings up here? Have you ever heard anything about Bigfoot? Because that's what we're doing. We're up here we're camping and we're looking around, seeing what we can find out. And he said, no, his demeanor didn't change. He said, no, I've never heard anything to do with Bigfoot, but there are gnomes up here. And I laughed, I smiled, I said, a gnome? You mean like a little person? He said, yeah. He didn't laugh, he didn't smile, he said, yeah, I'm serious, I'm dead serious. People, more than one person has talked about little gnomes, seeing little people running around in the woods. So I thought I'd throw that in. It has nothing to do with anything. But that's another cryptid that someone said that was up there. But anyway, we get up there and it's the last day of hunting, and it's starting to get dark, and we noticed an ambulance flying down the road. And in front of that ambulance was a ranger, like kind of guiding them. A couple minutes later, another ambulance goes by, and 2 or 3 more rescue vehicles start going by. Like, man, something is going on. Something's happening. So we're discouraged now. There's too much going on in this mountain. We're not gonna get anything.
We had the thermal helicopter.
And we're out walking around a little bit, and there's a helicopter flying over us, and he's flying low. And we think that he was like shooting thermal, trying to look for, I'll put all this together, we come up with the conclusion a hunter got hurt, or maybe a hiker got lost, or something like that. So there's a lot of attention up on this mountain, is the point that I'm trying to make. So we're discouraged. You know, we've been excited about this spot and looking forward to it. Get here, nothing's gonna happen. So we turn in early. Early for us back then was 1 o'clock, about 1 a.m.
Yeah.
We turn in early, and before we do, I decide I'm gonna leave my voice recorder out on the table. And so I put it on the table, and I covered up with this bag of chips. We had bought another little individual bags of chips you put in your kids' lunchbox, send them to school with. Bought a big pack of those, and we set that on top of the recorder, and we go to bed. And on the recorder, you can hear our voices. You can almost hear what we're saying. It's coming in so clear. We're talking, you know, as people do, talk for 15, 20 minutes before you go to sleep, and then you nod off, you fall asleep. Well, 5 minutes after we fall asleep, we start to hear this, like footsteps. And it's coming, it's getting closer and closer, and then the footsteps stop, and you hear a bag of chips rustling, and we're asleep, not 20 feet away while this is going on. I have no idea any of this is going on. These bags of chips are moving, and they stop, and then you hear a loud thud, and then little feet. Well, it sounded like little feet running off, and then the big feet start following it. Obviously, we didn't see any of this. It's all speculation. We're putting it together in our head. Sounds like Mama carried up the baby, got her a bag of chips, threw him down, he took off, and Mama followed. That's what it sounded like. Now, we still have this recording.
We also had our little trap on our little trailer on the backside.
Yeah, tell them about that.
He actually got some cool lights. There was motion lights from dollar store, wasn't it?
It's somewhere cheap, yeah.
A little dollar store, and he put out some camo tape, and we camoed them up. We hung one up in a tree where we was going behind our camp, going up in the hills, because there was so many tree structures we saw up there. I mean, bukus of things. So we hid it right here, so if something comes up behind us, this thing's gonna come on, boom.
Maybe spook it.
And spook it. Well, the trail was pretty clear. I mean, it was leaves, but it was clear. Next day, we went to go up there, and I stopped dead track, and I said, dude, where are all these trees? There was limbs broken in the area where this light was at.
And the leaves were, it looked like someone had slid on leaves. You ever been running?
Spooked,
slid, leaves were disturbed and everything.
And then basically you could see something going back up the hill. So it was like, I think our light it spooked something. I wish we had a camera. We didn't have a thermal that time. We didn't have no deer camera. But that light, if it hit it, we didn't know it because it's behind us. But there was limbs, like either we picked it off and it just threw limbs down there trying to kill the light or something. But yeah, we had that and went on up, and then I think we left an apple hanging that didn't get touched. Mm-hmm. But they were, the structures up there was basically, it wasn't really a built structure, it was piles of tree limbs.
Interwoven between smaller trees.
Yeah.
That were coming
and
up.
I was like, dude, there's one there. And it was a night. That was basically our first big time, and he didn't know we had to record until later. Check this out.
Yeah.
Clear as day, you can hear something on bipedal walking. And with the times that we went up there, I've not really been disappointed. Except for the last one I went and it rained. So.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
No, I take that back. No. We did get something because me and Greg walked down I said, I'm going to go down and see our spot and see what's going on. And that's when I noticed it was blocked off for one, which is crazy. And then the main road on up was also gated and blocked off, but you couldn't go up that way. Well, there's a back way up. They put a giant rock right in the thing, blocking it off. And I said, well, why is this blocked off? And it was probably getting sundown. We get over, it's dark actually. We go down there, I want to go see if something, maybe there. I stopped dead because I hear three grunts in the area where our campsite's at. And I said, Greg, what is that? He goes, I think it was a bullfrog. I said, hang on, let's do it. And hear the three grunts again, like, like basically telling them, hey, we got people here. Shut up, hide. I said, you know what? I'm not armed. You ain't armed. I said, back up. Let's get out of here. I said, I'm not taking on three stooges here over here and me Dumb and Dumber up here. Not happening. And I backed on up. He came with me. He said, well, let's go for it. I said, get back to the camp. Because I had my wife and John was there, and Kenneth was kind of, I think he made it up there and laid it.
He did.
We never went back down there because it actually spooked me. I was like, I heard them three grunts. I said, I'm not taking on three. No, not happening. They went down there the next day to the rock site and actually smelled a skunky, pungent smell. And they looked down off the side there and they think they saw a possible nest in the mudded areas, which are dried up where the lake's not been overflowing. And we ain't been back yet, but we will be going back. But that's after that, the rain. It was it just rained and drowned us, and it killed everything.
And in between that experience and the first experience on Pigeon Mountain with the recording, there was one sandwiched in there, and that's where we got our thermal images, our thermal pictures. What is the best evidence we've collected as a group so far.
Is that the one with the tricycle sound that followed us up the hill?
That was the same one.
Okay.
We heard we went on a walk up a gravel road, and we kept hearing a metallic sound.
Like if you've seen Saul, little Zigsaw has his tricycle and it's quick. That's what we was hearing.
It put me in the mindset of someone pushing their child on an old rusty swing set. That's what was in my mind when I heard it. But we're in the middle of the woods. There's nothing metal except for vehicles. Everything is wooden up there. Everything's wood and just earth.
Yeah.
So there's no reason that a metal sound, and I don't know how that correlates with Bigfoot or even if it does, but I've heard that before, that people will hear metal sounding stuff. So we did hear that night on our walk. And we got whistles. We got those on tape. We also got a tree knock on tape. But the most impressive thing that we got was the thermal images of something very large doing what I typically do. I can't stand still.
He's part Sasquatch.
Is doing this. It was doing this the whole time, probably from here to my campsite over there. That's how far away it was. And something small was scurrying back and forth. And it was 10, 12 degrees that night. I don't know if that has something to do with not being able to keep my FLIR charged, but I would get 10 minutes worth of a battery out of my FLIR and it would die. I'd go run, plug it back up to the charger, and we'd go, please don't leave, please don't leave, please don't leave. Let it charge for about 20 minutes, plug it up, and we'd go back and they were still in that general area. We did that once or twice, 2 more times, and then when we came back that last time, they weren't there. Whatever it wasn't there anymore. But I do have pictures I can share with anyone. They're on our website. I posted them to the group. But interestingly enough, we were in the exact same camp spot where we got the recording.
Mm-hmm.
The recording of what sounded like Mama and Baby. And then a month later, we think we might have filmed Mama and Baby.
The third one, wasn't it?
Yeah, Rick had a.
Rick had something.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I can only speak to what we had.
Right.
What we had on camera. So yeah, that's probably the best evidence that we had. And since then, we've come to this area, and I have collected a clump of hair. It was in these woods right here. I found it 7.5 feet off the ground. It was up here, just this clump of brown hair that stunk. I mean, when you open the package now that it's in, it stinks. It still has a smell to it. And if you hold it up, it's like blends in with the background. It's really interesting. I'm trying to find the right person to send some of it to get it, you know, tested, evaluated, and it's just hard to know who you can and you can't trust.
Yeah.
When dealing with that kind of evidence. But yeah, that's been us today. We've had other experiences, but we're not gonna bore everybody with them. And if you guys have any questions.
Yeah, I'd like to ask you, did you ever look on the back of your tent for hair or smell or dog hair or
when the one that's the butt touching?
Yeah.
No, it never crossed my mind. It was just basically, I had the boys, they were ready to fish, cook. I had to get breakfast cooked, and you know, we did go back there and look for tracks, but we didn't really, in my mind, it didn't cross my mind about.
Break the hide with your knife?
Huh? No, I don't think so. Like I said, the tent, it did poke through the tent, because I mean, you got a point on a knife. I mean, it did poke, but I didn't, you know, I didn't. It was like really, really gentle, because I didn't want this thing. If it was a possible bear being stubborn, I didn't want this thing turning around, because the next thing he's going to do, he's going to, you know, bite me. You know, I'm right there, and I might not be here today. But yeah, that's a good question, but no, I didn't. Never thought about the hair or nothing.
Hey Justin, did you ever talk to the guy in the camper?
He was gone. I don't know when he left. And he was nobody there when we woke
Did he
up.
still stayed there and you just went back later on and talked to him?
No, I never saw him again. I don't know. It was like a ghost. I mean, it might, like I said, I think the guy was. I wouldn't say he was homeless, because I think he was one of those. I'd say like him. He traveled.
A drifter.
You're a drifter. You know, just chilling, new to the area, and drifting by, and you know, you don't have much money. You can't pay for $10 for. Plus, with a camper, you're going to pay more.
It would have been nice to have talked to him after the experience.
God, yeah.
Maybe you go, I'll be going in the river. Here in the back, see if it's clear or hollow.
No, I haven't done it. I really, to be honest, I wouldn't know what to look for.
I've seen several claim is and get human hair, take some of the ones on the hair.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly do that, and I will. I'll do that.
I have one more question on the chest. Are there any chickens?
Well, we don't know, because you know, we didn't take an inventory of what was there.
We were
and
too
what
excited.
wasn't.
It's like,
and to be honest, we didn't know that any of it happened. I didn't know any of it happened until
it would have been after the fact.
a week
Yeah.
later.
We would have eaten them all. And
only thing we knew was what happened with the trail. We're like, there's something happened.
And it was a week later
Yeah.
when I reviewed the audio that I found out that anything happened.
I think Bear, did you want something, Bear?
Yeah, I was just wanting to volunteer to pull the hair out of his beard so he could compare.
Oh, I think we was thinking like, I said, I'm not
I
going
just
to
give you my beard brush. There's enough of it in there. Anybody else got anything?
When the Bigfoot sat on the tent, did it leave a mark? Like you guys got
The ground was in the shape of, it looked like a butt. It looked like, I mean, it probably the size of my butt, but,
Was
huh?
it dirt and stuff there?
It was a small dirted area. It was dry. That's why I was hoping to see footprints. You know, usually deer, you know, their hooves will stick in the ground, but no, there wasn't no deer. There was no footprints, but because you had tree roots there that he could, you know, probably step and not leave nothing. If it was, well, I know it was a Bigfoot, but yeah, there was a
Indention of a butt.
indention, a small indention. I mean, you barely could see it. But you know, at that time, like I said, it's the same way as the camera thing. It's like, let me get, you know, let's get that, pack our stuff, get out of here. You know, we was going to stay again. It was like after that, it was like, that's how it felt. Huh? Yeah, we caught catfish like that before. Yeah, we had them. We had a few. I did cook some up, and we did have the bones and stuff out to the side there. So that's why I was like, either this thing stopped by and it was on its way to the mountain, because I mean it's in a it's on a main. There's a main road right here. You got the railroad track, and you got the lake, and it cuts off and goes up the mountain. The road, the regular road does. But you cut off to the right here. I mean, he can come to the mountain and go across that road, and boom, he's back in the woods. Nobody will see him ever. Huh?
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Like Nickajack Lake, wasn't it?
Yep. Right outside Nickajack. Yep.
So you had campers there, and they vacated before y'all got out.
They were gone before I ever got there.
How many stories have we heard, guys? Like they do something with us, and they cut it.
I mean, he had a fire. I mean, he was when we went to bed, he was still there. But the next morning, when I got up with my son, they were gone. We didn't even hear nothing crank up, nothing. Just quiet.
Maybe you're right. Maybe they thought they was.
But that's what I was thinking is this thing, like when we got into talking about infrasound, and I felt relieved and calm and safe. This thing could have just done an infrasound hit on all of us and knocked us out.
Wow.
You know, and we woke up like, okay, hey.
Thunder, there's your lost time.
Yep, time slips.
That's the only thing I can't really explain. We didn't hear the camper crank up, and it wasn't no fancy, camper. It was a drivable camper, an older model that you would think, make noise, you crank up.
I think a lot of people would question. A lot of people have questioned how someone would be able to just go to sleep with something sitting on their tent. And that was my original question too. So.
Mm-hmm. I mean, whatever it was, it hit me with something to calm me down and say, okay, relax, go to sleep.
That's amazing.
There's been a lot of stories like that they calm down people when it's in like dire moments that they need it. So I think they had that.
You said the guy that was in the camper next to you was gone when you got up. What time did you get up that morning?
It's about 8 o'clock. He was already gone by that morning because with a drifter, they're gonna probably get up. They ain't stupid. They know traffic. I mean, they're gonna go. And if he had somewhere to go, he was gone. So, or if something knocked on his door, I mean, I wouldn't blame him to leave too. He's probably looking back there and saying, I guess they got eaten. I guess he's coming for me. So I don't know. So that's the only time I can't explain. That's why I said it has to be a Bigfoot. And then everything with the infrasound, it somewhat goes together. Because like I said, I remember laying there and I'm staying awake. And when your adrenaline's going, you got your kids, you're there. And I'm sitting here like, okay, this thing ain't moving. And out. I mean, I can't explain it. I mean, it's a good question. It's like, well, how could you go to sleep with your kids there? Wake up one miss. Well, technically, my son was missing. He was out there fishing already before I woke up. So, I mean, he didn't. That's all he did. And I was like, okay. The oldest one, he's wide awake until he just finally passed out too. And then I was last.
So your little one never woke up, so he didn't.
Not really. Yeah.
Go out there and go fishing, and could be in danger or something.
Yeah.
He just went on out there.
Yeah, he's the spunky one. I'm going fishing, I mean, that's the way it is.
Who's your guys' favorite interview that you've had on your channel?
Mine personally, oh man, it's hard to beat Janice Carter. But other than Janice Carter, I think my best show, and it was one that I ended up doing by myself because Wallace had to work, was MK Davis.
Yeah.
I got to share a lot of his videos, like the fence climber and the fighting and the white one running across. And he actually played live on our show some of his audio that he had collected, and that was a really, really, really good show. That was fun. But Janice, I mean, how can you say anybody was better than Janice?
That's probably I mean, I could say any of them because all of them are good. But with that question, I'd have to agree with him, Janice, because after he's like, hey, did you check this out? What? 50 years of Bigfoot. Went and listened to it, watched it on.
What was it originally?
It's on YouTube.
No, I know it, and it's in a procession. That was on something cryptic.
They did a document.
Mary Green wrote the book.
Yeah.
Mary Green was
Tennessee Bigfoot
advertised
woman
for the
or something
book.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody went from the dad being in with with them all the way up to his death and her.
Yep.
I can't remember.
I don't
who
remember the
done
program
50
either.
thing, but that's the first time
It's
I heard
50
it.
years of Bigfoot, I know that, but it's,
Then it's turned into an audio
Who
case.
turned
Yeah.
it into?
Audio book.
Bigfoot case file.
Bigfoot case
That's
files.
what it was. It was with Lynn.
Lynn.
done that.
And Janice wanted to be here with us again this year. She this is actually the second year that we've done this at this camp. Old Bear came last year, and Janice was here, and Ninja Dave, and we had some craziness happen. So this is actually the second year that we've done this. But Janice wanted to be here again this year, but she ended up having to work.
we want to tell them how we got into this one.
Yeah.
Are you gonna
Do
do
the
next
crazy. Tell us the craziest
Yeah,
story
tell us about that one.
from scratch.
I would say this would probably be crazy.
Oh, what happened here?
Last year.
Okay, well,
got
you
y'all.
wanna do it or you
Got
want me to?
y'all.
I'll
from
start it.
Friday night.
Friday night, we get here.
Well,
Not a whole lot happened.
Well,
Friday night.
actually, my friend Tanya was the one.
That's what I'm trying to get
okay,
to.
I got you.
The real interesting stuff happened. We left here. We got here Friday night, met everybody, did our hellos, had our camp out, exchanged pleasantries, exchanged stories, and getting to know each other. And Saturday comes along, and he has a friend from high school. She's suffering from cancer, and her husband, she wasn't doing real well at the time, and her and her husband lived 30 minutes from here.
Yeah.
And she had
Basically
been
over the mountain.
seeing all kind of little things that she couldn't explain. Little, she thinks they're dogman pups. There were little dogman looking things with tails. And she thought that she had seen some Bigfoot too. So what we did, we went over to do our initial investigation. We left Janice, Old Bear. I don't think you guys had gotten back yet. Y'all stayed at the hotel. And Janice and everybody stayed here, and Wallace and I were the only two that went over there. So we went and we're checking out the area. It's squatchy as anything. I mean, you can tell there's signs everywhere that these things are around. And we're standing in the backyard. We're getting ready to leave. We're saying our goodbyes, and all of a sudden, something that had never happened to me before, and I don't think it ever happened to you either.
No.
And the gentleman that was with us had never happened before. We actually heard a full-size tree fall, and it was close. So a tree fell over. I had never heard that in the wild before. And I mean, and what are the odds?
Well, this one actually sounded like it was being pushed in a way. The way that it snapped.
Yeah, it didn't go straight down. It
Yeah.
was like,
It was. You could
Yeah.
see it like it's been snapped.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with
Well, I've
that.
heard a tree fall before. I mean, you cut one down. So.
Anyway, that happens, and that freaks us out, and that makes us want to stay longer and go look even more. But we hung out for a little bit longer, and then we came back. And that night is when everything started going the wrong way.
Right after they left.
Yeah, right after y'all had an emergency
Yeah.
with your daughter.
Just got there. We just got there.
Yeah, and so y'all had to leave. So we get back here, and I will be danged if we're not here an hour, another tree falls. Granted, 40 years of my life, I'd never heard it. Now I've heard it twice in one day. In two different areas.
The tree here?
Yes,
Yeah.
here.
Right around this curve right here.
Yeah.
It's pushed over the road.
And 30, 40 miles apart, or 30 minutes apart,
Like basically right
I
over
just
the-
heard my second tree fall or pushed over or whatever. And we're here, and it happens, and then it happens here too. What does that mean? Are they the same ones? I mean, are they communicating somehow? If it's even a Bigfoot, we don't know. We're speculating at this point. It was enough to scare us. And then from that point on, a big limb either fell or was thrown behind our tent. What else happened?
Where were y'all at that night?
We were right down
I'm
there about
across from
halfway.
where I was at.
Where he's at now is directly
Straight
across from where we
me.
were.
Some of the parts he is leaving out that actually lead to these things was it poured rain, and every time the rain would stop, that's when something would happen. And it was over there. It rained, and I heard that was the first time I asked him myself. He didn't get to. I wish he did, because he was literally standing right here to my left, and that's when I got the first time hearing chatter.
Yeah, you were here in chatter. That's
I
right.
mean, and you talk about freaking out. You're like, I hear something here. What is going on here? And Janice is next to me going, stay calm. He's talking over here. They're talking back and forth. And I'm like, okay, are they threatening? No, they're not. And then once we got back over here, because I felt calm over there. It felt good. It was an experience. We also was worried, we was also worried about them too, and that had them in our minds too. We get back over here and we're like, dang man, can we, and that's when we, I think that's when we discovered we ain't got much signal here. We can't find out if they've got back to the hotel, how far they've got up to West Virginia. We didn't know. So Janice is there, and I'm set up. Tables here. I'm starting cooking burgers. Holly, which is Janice's daughter, that's me, her. She's sitting next to me, and we're just sitting there and just chit chatting. And I actually pulled my phone out. I have a app that I bought that I do in the battlefield, and it's a paranormal app, voice box basically. And I'm sitting there just watching, just bored. Well, Holly's over my shoulder reading what's coming up, and I'm not telling nobody. Okay, and we both hear like chains. Like if you hear like a dog dragging his chain, we hear a chain right on the road. And I'm like, and it's pitch dark. I'm like, oh, I go, Dave, what? He comes around the blazer of Janice. I look at him, dude, was that what you right here behind me? He said, I ain't been over there. I just came out from here. I look at Holly and I said, okay. What in the world? Well, then leading up to that, it starts popping out all kinds of, it's going crazy, popping out all kinds of things. I was like, okay, I'm gonna cut it off. We cut it off. That's when the big tree, loud enough that it woke half these people that was over here, woke them up.
Yeah, you started seeing lights pop on all around the camp. So.
Which direction?
Right over here.
Exactly.
Over here?
Yeah.
It was all the way across the blacktop where it fell?
Get right over there, yeah. Right
Into
as the curve comes in, so like before you get to the turn, it was right there across the road.
You could see one or two little ones that it went over the road when we came down from Chattanooga, but it was this green one that popped off.
Well, there's one over there that's freshly cut. But I think it's already because it was more rotted, but it was enough to push over. He had that, and then. Like I said, he had the limb come across, and he was actually in the tent.
I was ready to go to bed.
He was in bed. He comes out, and he's in his boxers. I'm like, man, what are you doing? Man, there's something behind my tent. And I'm like, okay, I didn't see nothing. And so Dave and Janice, they take off, and Holly takes off to go check out the tree. It's just me and him. I said, well, let's go down this way and see what's going on. And we're pitch black, and I got the spotlight. As we're coming back up, something coming back, we hear this. And I look and I go, what in the heck? I said, whatever. And I turn to him, and he knows I'll stand my ground. I'll stop, as him, I'll protect him. And hopefully he would protect me, not throw me down.
Sometimes.
Yeah, see. And I'm sitting there, and we both get this feeling, okay. He goes, you think we should leave? And I didn't hesitate. I said, yeah, I think we need to. Let's go to the hotel. We'll come back.
Janice was the first one that said something. She kept saying, I'm leaving. Something's not right. I'm leaving. And that scared me because Janice has been through everything with these creatures. And speaking for myself, I don't have the feeling that we were dealing with Bigfoot that night. It's hard for me to explain because I'm a Christian man and I don't like to put a lot of stock here.
That's when you actually,
yeah, to think about demonic stuff or spirits or anything like that, but something wasn't right. I don't think that we were dealing with Bigfoot that night. I think we were dealing with something evil that didn't want us here.
When you say that, Wayne, do you think that the tree was meant as a warning that was pushed down across the road?
I believe that.
Or the wind?
I think there was all warnings saying that they didn't want us here.
Other than like him, I think that was Bigfoot. In a way. I think that was Bigfoot.
Because they are demonically. That's how come a Dugway has a disgusting looking face. They look like a demon walking.
Yeah. And with him, that was the first he ever kind of really experienced my app and the paranormal, I believe, except,
I've
you know.
never put any stock in those apps.
Yeah.
I mean, they're free.
When that was going on.
And
One actually came up with William's name, which
and
is
it said
Dave.
Banshee.
Banshee, and then we're like, okay, and I cut it off, and I'm like, I'm not dealing with a Banshee.
Was it necrophonics?
No, it's a, what is it, honey? Ghost Hunter.
Gotcha.
Ghost hunting thing, I use it in the battlefield all the time. But I bought the whole thing, all the words are there, because it's a voice box.
Larry talks about having one, actually buying the box itself, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a box, it's basically static. And
And then they went fooling with it, and they spooked their own self.
yeah, yeah.
That's probably what we did that night.
And I could go with what
Did they go
him.
to the same battlefield as y'all did and do that?
No, they didn't.
There was somewhere they went and put that out.
Is that battlefield where Daryl got attacked too?
Yeah.
Chickamauga.
That's Chickamauga. That night, I believe the things that we had over there, the Bigfoots, the chatter, and I'm hearing that Janice was basically, we left the gifting. I think they followed us. Just as they were talking about, you know, they travel and follow you. I think because you can literally go over these hills.
As a crow flies, we could be at their house in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Probably.
I believe they came here and they felt that there was something here, and it wasn't. This was not packed like this. It was.
No.
There was other people here. It was just, you know, our spot. But I think it was Bigfoot warning saying, "Hey, you need to get out of here," because when I walked back, and he's asked me, "You want to go?" and I was like, "Yeah, I guess we need to go." Usually I'm gonna say, "No, I'm not going." Just like in Pigeon Mountain, we could have ran from there. I said, "No, we're not going." Here,
So you think Bigfoot was warning you guys?
I think they were. I believe, my personal opinion, I think they were here and followed us and basically, in a way, could be returning a favor, going, "Okay, you didn't mess with us over there, but you left us a gift." Followed us over here with Janice and said, "There's something here you don't need to be messing with."
Obviously,
So-
that's speculation.
That's true. That is true.
We had no way of knowing. We didn't
You said
see
that-
anything.
There was lights coming on. Did
Yeah.
those folks stay when y'all left, or was nobody else here by then? You don't know.
I don't know what they did.
I think some of them stayed. I don't remember if I seen anybody leave, but I think some. No, matter of fact, one did. They did leave.
But they're not here for the same cause y'all. was.
No.
No, they were here
They
camping, chilling.
wouldn't know.
Yeah,
they
they-
read the signs. that
Yeah, it
y'all
wasn't
see.
like, you know, how we have it. This is our biggest thing right now.
They
That's
could have left just because it was raining.
Yeah.
that's true, because when they hear that, they're like,
Granted,
okay, I
it
ain't
was
gonna
like,
have a
it
tree.
was like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right,
Mudslide or something similar, or
right.
Was this the same weekend they were throwing?
rain load on the top of.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
all the same time, yeah. Same
but it wasn't too, like, actually hit. It was drop. Hey, get out of here. Something. I mean, Dave sent a picture. He did say he claimed he got a, what?
John's got a question. Go ahead.
Oh, that had a thing out here that he did possibly have a canine picture, possibly a print, and you can see it. But which he agrees it was, you know, it could have been the guys and their dogs, because the dogs were whimpering that night. Something was spooking them.
Yeah.
That was one of that thing, and I think they were bulldogs, wasn't they?
I don't
Do
remember.
any of you remember when you guys go out and take a dog? The
No.
dogs seem to be able to sense when things are around.
Well, I take him all the time on this.
Yeah, but you don't
Pulled
keep
you out
him
the
on a
hill.
leash.
You got a
No.
question, John?
This is second or third time I've heard this story. Am I correct that Janice also felt like warning was being that the
Yeah.
tree falls and stuff?
Yeah, Janice
Yep.
was taking it worse than any of us. And to be honest, when her being afraid and wanting to leave, I took that as my biggest sign that something might not be right. We should probably go.
Did you guys want them going away?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
left. We packed
fortunately.
up at 3 o'clock in the morning and left, all of us. I
And-
packed up in record time.
And stuff didn't end there, because I went home. We went home. When I got back to the truck, I called him. I think I called him that morning. Dude, we shouldn't have left. I was aggravated. I was ticked off. He said, "What's the matter with you?" I don't know. I think the one show that you did by yourself was the day I was at work. He actually said something, you know, because we always joke around when we're texting each other. And he said something, and I snapped on him.
Yeah, he did.
He said, "Dude, what? I told him, I said, I'm done. I quit. You can take this and shove it up your butt." And he was like, "Dude, what's wrong with you?" He said, just take time. Man, that better not be a bee. I'm starting to strip.
He flew away.
And
It is a bee though. Yeah.
great.
A big one.
And he sensed something was wrong with me. And I went home, she knew something. I had something followed me. I talked to Bear. You know, I don't care to share it. You know, it's a thing that some things happen. This is more part of it. And I believe the very first, that was the thing he said, hey, what do you think about, you know, open up the paranormal? I strictly told him, I said, you sure you want to open that door? Because the things what I told y'all last night, I said, you sure you want to do this? I said, I'll take it as a great idea. I think it expands us a little bit, more good stories, more content for us, and getting people more to talk, because there's no telling these people, some people could be in that cemetery experiencing both, Bigfoot and a you know, a paranormal, an orb or something. Like they say, that somehow it's connected, that they think. But I had issues, I had problems, and he prayed for me, and Bear prayed for me, and I had to do it with my own self, and I had to do like I did with a long time ago. I used my mom's Bible to clear things out. And she actually had something at the house that she had it for a Halloween costume. And this thing, I will, till the day, I will put my hand on the Bible. This thing would fall off the shelf every time I walk out of the bedroom and be unraveled.
Because you're shaking the house when you walk, man.
You trying to call me fat, really? But I told her, I said, get rid of it, throw it away, do what you got to do with it. As soon as it goes, as soon as it went, everything went back to normal. I was back on the show with him and say, hey man, you know, I told him, talked to him. He said, okay, you know what's there, and you know, I believe my man. I trust him, his word, and you know, it was Bear, and we talked. Because even Janice, I think it was 2 weeks later, she said, hey, I didn't tell her nothing, didn't talk to her about anything. She actually messaged me. She said, hey, I'm just wanting to know, I feel that you've been fighting with some type of spiritual war, right? My mind's going, what? I didn't tell you. I said, when did you say something to Janice? Did you, what? He said, no. And I told her, I said, yeah. I told her exactly what I told y'all. And she's like, I'm going to pray for you. You know that you are a child of God. You know that you can beat this. I said, I got you. I'm doing fine. And she kept up with me. And I tried to contact, but she's been working so much.
I'll talk to her a little. She's been working a lot. And I'm not going to give specifics, but when that first day that I met Janice and I told her about me being skeptical about the mind speak and the telepathy and all that stuff, and I don't know what to make of it. And she told me, and I've only told a couple people this, she pulled me aside and she told me about a personal ailment physically that I have that people don't know about. It's personal.
I didn't even know about it.
Oh, hold on. And so she told me about this ailment. She said, you have this, don't you? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I just met this woman for the first time ever. So, I mean, that she's either really, really good at guessing. I don't think I gave any hints away about it. Nobody else has ever told me I have it, but she did. And that's the God's honest truth. And that's what kind of leads me to believe that she is one of these that might not be full of hot air when she's talking about all this stuff. Yeah. Now, what did you want me to, about the first one?
Oh, I thought he was telling us to shut up and let everybody else go.
She also, this is something interesting, and with Bear's blessing, I'll go ahead and say it. I was asked not to mention it, so I haven't to anyone. She asked me, I'm trying to remember exactly how she worded it. She said something about, I get this feeling about Bear. She said, Bear, something along the lines, said Bear has killed a Bigfoot. Said Bear killed a Bigfoot or something like that. Something along those words. And I was like, If he has, I don't know about it. He's never told me about it. I don't know. So, a couple weeks later, Bear calls me up, which was odd. You know, we text sometimes, but we don't talk on the phone all that much. And we're talking, and I tell him what she told me. And he said, well, it's true. He said, I have. So, she knew that somehow. It's another interesting fact about it. I know.
Yeah.
Does everybody know who Janice Carter is and like the basis of the story?
The best thing to do is you look up 50 years of
Look at
Bigfoot,
50 years of Bigfoot.
and
There's
sit
like
there and enjoy that
13
whole
segments.
thing. And then there's some spots on YouTube where it actually shows her when she was younger and everything. So
Why do you think we're going to make this an annual event?
Yeah.
we already made that.
Have you thought about maybe, because of this, maybe having it a different weekend to where when we go up the mountain, we're not encountering Lover's Lane and everybody else.
We
You
have,
might find
and
more than a Bigfoot up there. You
Y'all
know.
didn't find me. So.
Bear and I actually talked before.
Uh-huh.
Well, Cowboy too, and Walls. We've had little meetings about this get together.
He's lying. He ain't talking to me.
Does anybody ever listen to him? Because I don't.
Let me clarify this for y'all.
Can I make a quick comment?
When it
This is
comes
the
to
first
getting
time.
Garrett to come to a meeting, you have to get a horsewhip and hog tie him to the chair and then put the camera in front of him.
Yeah.
To get him at the meeting.
Can I make a quick observation? This is the first show I've ever seen you all do together that he wasn't eating something.
Man!
Don't happen no more.
That's your fault.
Anyway, we talked. The four of us have talked about this event right here, and we would like to continue it. To answer your question, we want to make it an annual thing. And depending on how the turnout was for this one,
There you go.
we were.
Thank you, Carter.
If we had good reaction to this one and a good turnout, then we might actually look at renting a like a fairgrounds type place, something where we're not under restrictions by a campground, and we could be a little more open and not as many rules and fit more people, basically. So, yeah, find somebody's private property maybe that would be willing to.
Full of Bigfoot.
Let's put campers.
But they ain't got this
We're on the top of a mountain somewhere.
If that were to happen, we might have to charge a little fee for the event, just a collective amount to give the homeowner, just as an incentive.
That's a trespass fee.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they do that a lot out west. They'll give you permission to go across
Yeah, we did a lot.
private ground.
Well, we have a lot.
And you pay a trespass fee to get on. It's not going to be very much. I mean, we may start the first, maybe next year, everybody can make a donation, and then depending upon the size of it, year after year, then we can step up into where we will rent a place for someone and have like a conference building or something of that nature. That way it's not out in the heat, and we can control where everybody can come. And you won't feel like you're 110 degrees outside, or you won't feel like you're 20 degrees outside, or you're getting soaking wet, or getting snowed on. So we'll keep that just like this.
Well,
Y'all go anywhere further in more central Tennessee or
not yet.
Yeah,
Well-
we'd love to.
We got our little private spot.
another area that y'all squatch in somewhere that's,
We have.
well, you can't beat the weather here, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
We,
North Georgia, Southeast Tennessee
Yeah.
is where we go.
I mean, we do have one spot that's our private one, and that's just for him.
That's
And
family
it's
property.
a family property that we've. That's where actually that's where we got our footprint.
Yeah, we casted
Yeah.
a print there.
Y'all
I
got
think-
that with kids, huh?
No, it's too fragile, and hauling them, it probably got broke. But it's it's basically the toes almost. I mean, we couldn't get the whole thing, but it is like the toes. I have it at home. He let me have it because he has all them other fancier things. So
Yeah.
like the hair. But yeah. Anybody more questions or
I
anything?
think we've gone over
Yeah,
our 45 minutes that we were allotted.
Bear's gonna beat us on going over. So
Not like we got anywhere.
But again, thank you guys so much for coming out and
Thank you, guys.
hanging out with us.
Jeff, say something you want to talk.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for
We're
hosting.
gonna try to
Yeah.
get